us up. Seek professional advice.
Hello and welcome back to Pro Dad Noob Dad. I am Joel. This is Chris. We're back in Chris's gazebo with our camera and our lights, and it's not raining tonight, which is nice.
No, it's lovely. Yeah.
And so this is the second episode. So then here we're going to crack on with finding out what Chris has been doing this week with his pregnant wife and what she's been going through.
It's 14 weeks this week, so I thought I'd start off this week with the Fortnight and Foetus news.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
As you can see, we've got a new addition to the cast. We've got an iPad to try and make things a little bit more professional. Start with a couple of fun facts to start. You like fun facts?
I love a fun fact. Go on.
So, if my wife was a leopard...
Right, well, she could be, yeah.
She'd have given birth by now.
Oh, we have seen your wife. We saw her on the little clip.
We saw her on the clip. She's not a leopard, but she'd have given birth by now. The gestational period of a leopard is 93 days. We'll be doing a new fun one.
Is that 93 days?
It's ish. It's the closest
Snow
one.
leopard or...?
Just your basic,
right.
your ground leopard.
Yeah. Tree leopard, really.
Tree leopard. Yeah.
I don't
Depending.
think they live in trees.
Yeah. Start occasionally on grounds though. Otherwise, they're just stuck in the same place forever.
That's a good point. Yeah. They actually have a square mile territory, one leopard.
There you go.
That's why they're endangered. They can't live together.
What are you going to do, eh? What are you going to do?
Leopard facts.
Right, and of course, the week in fruit news.
Yeah, okay, because each week we've realised that all baby sizes are measured by their appropriate and sort of fruit size, right?
If you're not British, we often use a very standard set of measuring systems: double-decker buses.
Yep, size of whales.
Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Yeah, Nelson's column.
Nelson's column. Yeah. So these are the standard measurements. If you're in England of describing things, so we use fruit for fetuses. Right. Okay. So this week is a navel orange.
Right. Because they ate them on chips.
I actually think it's because they got a little sticky out belly button on the end.
Is that a fact?
I mean, there's no scientific evidence for it, but it is a fact.
Right. Where have you got this from? Because so a navel orange.
Wiki answers.
Is a navel orange bigger or smaller than a standard orange?
It's a big orange. It's quite substantial.
Really?
Yeah.
Already. So show me how big. Like
I think a navel orange is about yay big. We're talking 7 centimeters.
Okay, because I mean they had oranges on boats, didn't they? For scurvy and stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
That's probably why it's a navel orange.
Well, we'll find out for the next episode. So bated breath, I think. But the main thing I think I wanted to go over some of the massive changes that have happened in 2 weeks.
Right, go on.
Because it's still very much in the time of Corona. None of us are that busy, I think, really.
Not that busy.
Not that busy, but this fetus, in the last 2 weeks, has started peeing inside my wife, which is odd.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Toes were separated.
Yeah.
Albeit they're all the same length, which I think seeing a foot with the toes all the same length is quite weird.
Yeah. That's a little bit weird.
Yeah. The eyes have migrated, which I think is an incredible sentence to be able to say.
So they'd start on the side of the head.
On the side.
Like a deer.
Or rabbit. Yeah.
Rabbit.
I got a deer.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they migrate around to the front.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Amazing.
So that's happened this week.
In the last fortnight, yeah.
So it's now a predator as opposed to prey.
Exactly, yeah.
Fine.
There's something interesting I learned. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. There's no nerve fibres in the umbilical cord.
No, didn't know that. But it makes sense.
Makes sense.
Just chop it.
You can just chop it, it's fine.
Yeah. Have you thought about umbilical cord chopping?
I have no idea about it. So maybe that's something we can talk about in a bit.
So obviously you have to cut the umbilical, the...
I appreciate somebody does.
Yes,
otherwise
exactly.
It's going to get really awkward.
Yeah, so
fast.
you understand that it comes out and it's attached to the placenta.
I get that.
So the placenta comes out 10 minutes after the baby does, or 5 minutes, depending on the kid. And so the kid is attached with this umbilical cord, and it's horrible.
Hang on. So the baby comes out.
Yeah.
And it's attached to the placenta,
yeah.
So they can't take it away until the placenta comes out or until you chop it.
You got to chop it first.
You got to chop it first.
Yeah.
So the baby comes out, and do they chop it straight away?
Almost straight away, yeah. Within 30 seconds or so.
Right.
Depends on how the baby comes out. Sometimes you got to cough and things. But so the first one, because our first kid was a bit of an emergency, it was forceps and alarms, and it was like a Formula 1 pit stop.
Right.
The second kid was much easier, came out in the water, and so I was there, and then my wife's sister was there as well, and they're like, do you want to cut the umbilical cord to me? And I looked at it, I'm like, no, it looks horrible, I'm not touching it. And then my wife's sister was like, I'll cut it. So she gets the scissors and straight through. I mean, you're getting scissors and cutting through living flesh. It's gross. Why would you want to do that?
I mean, it wasn't even until that long ago. There's a film called Body Song, where that was the first time I saw a accurate representation of what it's like to give birth.
Right.
And that's the first time I saw a placenta come out. And this was only 5 years ago. I'm getting on into my 30s now, and that was really something.
Yeah.
Like,
are you going to be head end or business end?
Well, we haven't discussed.
Because I've been head end all three.
You'd recommend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a good friend of ours has been business end, like right there with the gloves on, catching the kid.
Is this the Germanic Major, or is it someone else?
It's Tommy.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
okay.
And he's all for it. He's like, no, he gets in there and he pulls the baby out himself, you know.
I think there'd be something really amazing about seeing it come out. And I'm not particularly squeamish.
No.
I think the placenta coming out was a real surprise. It's a very alien looking thing to
I've
come
never
out.
seen it.
Well, as I say, I've only seen it on film.
Yeah, I've only ever been at the head end. And the first time I'd probably passed out anyway. So.
Yeah, you're not the best. Okay. Yeah. The kind of thing where, like, it's almost like a ceremonial cut for the dad.
Yes.
And then there's an actual, like
No. It is a ceremonial cut thing. Now, they do get the dad to cut it.
Yeah.
But it's a real cut. It's not like they then cut it properly. No, you really cut it.
No, I gather that. But is it like a pruning thing where you've got to prune a really delicate plant, and then you cut this bit up here, like, oh, well done, yeah, and then you'll do the intricate cut down here.
I think so.
Are you getting right in, like, close to the?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then because they put the umbilical cord comes out of the belly button, and it'll have this like clamp thing on it, which they put on first to stop the tube going through. And that stays on the baby's belly button for like a week before it drops off, and it's fucking gross. It goes all like it gets like necrosis. It gets like rotten and black and horrible.
Of course.
And my wife keeps them. We've got like all three of them in a jar.
For what purpose?
I don't know, but they're horrible. Like there are the little clamps on them, and this like rotten bit of like human flesh sticking out of it. I mean, why would you want that? I
mean, on that bombshell, the sex organs are done.
Good.
So.
Ding.
Check.
So you know if it's a boy or a girl now. It's all there.
It would be technically possible to know. In practice, it's quite hard to do for another. We'll talk about this at the end.
Yeah, so you've got 2 more weeks before
it's the next major milestone, and even then, it's touch and go. So that's kind of what's been up to. And the ears are finished, although they can't hear.
Right. Okay.
So
they're just the flap.
It looks like an ear.
Yeah.
When you look at it. in the book,
sure, but there's no eardrum.
No. Yeah, there's you can't. They can't hear anything yet.
Bones and stuff aren't there.
None of that.
Anvil and
stirrup. Yeah, very good. Yeah. And the central nervous system of the brain and spinal cord is done. So that's a lot to do in 2 weeks.
Smashed it.
Really smashed it.
Wow.
So that's great.
No wonder she's so tired.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, she's turning food into a central nervous system.
Yeah, into ears.
Yeah.
So this is our main kind of discussion topic for the week.
Okay.
I'm going to pick kind of things that are playing on my mind or have been of interest or something that's come up that would be good to discuss. And this video's topic is, are horror stories helpful?
So you're thinking about when your friend says, oh, you never guess what happened to me, or you never guess what happened to a friend of mine.
Yeah, so very, very specifically, as soon as you start talking to people you're close to about what's been their experience of their wives having a baby, invariably, if something has gone wrong, they will kind of explain that in quite a lot of depth.
Right.
And like, I was having a particular conversation with someone who was like, I wish I knew how bad it could have gotten.
Oh, okay. Right.
Like, before I went in, like, I wasn't prepared. You mentioned the F1 pit stop team earlier, right? So his situation was, oh, la, it's nice, we're in the birth centre and everything is going well. And then the pulse started dropping.
Yep.
And then suddenly all the jovial kind of doctors who were doing penis jokes 2 minutes before turned into an F1 pit stop team where he was completely superfluous to the situation. Like, get out of the room. Yep. We're going to do this. And it's the fear of that and not knowing that was a thing that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, so we went through a similar thing. So our first kid, that's essentially what happened is, we started off is that the midwife was obviously a junior midwife, and she was trying to get the cannula in the hand, and then like passed out at the sight of blood. So she had to go and sit down.
So that's not like a junior doctor where they're just doctors. That's like very...
Well, I mean, I'm guessing it was her first rodeo,
right? Okay,
because she wasn't good with blood
and passing out of blood. If you're a
yeah,
midwife,
so she had to. So she took 3 or 4 goes to get the cannula in, couldn't get it in.
A cannula is
one of those little things that goes in your hand, and they can put fluids and stuff in it.
Right.
I don't know.
It's helpful, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't really know what it does. But it's one of those things that goes in your hand.
Quick access.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so that went in. So she buggered off, and then what they did is they get this little probe, and they stick the probe in, and they attach it on the baby's head.
What?
Right. So
stick it in where?
What do you think?
Right. Okay.
Right, and it's a little probe that sticks on the baby's head.
I was like, how are they getting that through the hand?
No. It's on the baby's head.
Okay.
Right? And then that links to like a central computer. So somewhere in...
What are you talking about?
Hey,
All
this really happened.
I know,
right?
okay.
So somewhere in like the central nervous system of the hospital, there is like a super midwife. Or like a baby doctor.
Right.
And
like
so
a bunch of midwives all merged together,
yeah,
like a king rat type
yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so imagine like they've got like screens, and they can monitor all the babies in labour at the minute, and they can see all the data coming in from those head monitors. And then what happens is
this is really real. Like
I promise you this.
Okay.
And then she'll spot something, and then I'm hoping that she has like a really big red button,
right,
like that. You know, like on one of those
sure.
quiz shows. She may not do, but essentially what happened is your pulse thing starts dropping, the baby gets stuck, been in labour too long, in a bad position, baby gets starved of oxygen, and that comes through this sensor that the baby doesn't have enough oxygen. And so the crash team come in. So the bed, which is like, at this point, is just a nice hospital bed, they start like transforming it like an F1 team. So they start unscrewing things and pressing buttons and pressing pedals, and as you said, get out of the way.
Yeah, you are pointless.
Yeah, they're gone,
get
and they don't tell you what's going on. Or
yeah.
maybe they do, but you don't hear it. But
there's no time, I suppose.
Yeah, but they mean business, and it's like, no, the baby's coming out, and it's like, bam, 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 baby out.
Right.
And so that happened to us, and you're right, no one told us that wouldn't happen. But then again, we didn't go to any NCT classes or anything like that. So
an NCT class is?
It's a class you can go to where you learn about having kids, right? But I never went to one.
Okay, so I mean that's a good. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure. Yeah. So that's a horror story where I think someone had explained that to me. I'd go, "Oh, this is happening," as opposed to. So when I said like I nearly passed out, it was through genuine like fear and anxiety, like because you think like, what the hell is happening? Like, oh, the baby's dead, or like the room's going to explode.
Why would they be doing this level of activity?
Baby, it's a bomb. Like, sure. I mean, you expected the guy from, to come in the full, juggernaut suit.
Sure.
To.
Because it's not the only horror story as well. Like, I speak to other people, and like, I don't know if it's a case of just much like customer service. You don't ever really talk about good customer service and share it. Like, it's the bad things. No, sure. Where the people not love, but are more effusive about talking about bad things that have happened. I've heard some really nasty stuff from other people. And so I don't know how helpful that is, because my overriding idea of how this experience is going to go is that it's not going to go smoothly.
No. Well, we need to check percentages, don't we? So how many births, first-time births, are in and out, big smiley face, that was great, shook hands all round,
sure, and
you skip home.
That's a good one, and I don't even know if that data exists.
I don't know, maybe.
Because it's quite subjective, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, there's that amazing Adam Kay book, isn't there, where he was working on maternity ward and in that department, and his book is full of horror stories. But I mean, that's over probably a 10-year career that he's got horror stories enough for a book. But it's probably worth...
And it makes for very interesting
I mean, there was a bone saw in there at some point about having to chop pelvic bones out to save a baby.
So from your experience, because this is the only thing we've got to kind of work with at the moment, do you feel like... So what happened on the second and third? Were they quite problem-free?
Yeah, so it's what a roller coaster. So the second one, so the first one was in a birthing suite.
Yeah.
And actually what happened was because she was meant to have an epidural, And it was
An epidural is, by the way?
epidural is the big injection that you have in the base of your spine, and it numbs your legs. Right. So in the olden days, it was a needle about yay big, and they kind of plug it in, and a guy kind of just
get the harpoon out.
Yeah. A modern epidural, I think you kind of control it with like a little dial, and you can kind of monitor it that way. It's like a little cannula.
Nice, lovely. Or like the meme machine in Judge Dredd with the dial on his head.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
No, it's good. It's not good.
Watch it?
No.
So, but it was a bank holiday. So we went in on a bank holiday. So
the second one or the first one?
First one. And so there was, where's the anaesthetist? He's not working. It's a bank holiday. Yeah, there is no anaesthetist.
Yeah.
So you know that plan that you have of this is how you're going to give birth. So if you're the kind of person that likes to make plans,
okay,
you'd have been really pissed off.
Sure.
But we didn't have a plan because we're not that organised. So we were like, I'll be all right then. And so the first one gave birth, no epidural. So the second one, it's like, well, let's go to a different hospital. Let's go into the kind of the birthing suite with the pool.
So the birthing suite is still in a hospital, kind of.
Yeah, it was a hospital. Yeah, so it was a really nice hospital. They have like the bit downstairs if everything goes wrong, but you know, because it's your second kid, and you know you pop the second kid out, fill up the bath, in you go, have the baby in the water, and he came out. He was a big boy, you know, so you know it wasn't exactly smooth.
Sure.
But I mean, it was over very quickly. I think it was 4 hours from labour, as in, you know, like that.
I love that that's quickly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I think the manliest thing you can do in life is, apart from deliver your own baby, is drive your wife to the hospital.
I'm so excited.
Like at high speed.
Yeah.
So when she says it's time to go to the hospital, you go, not until it's an emergency. And then I'm going to fly across the pavements, around cars, undertake the buses.
Sure.
Yeah, like you know, like my head out the window, screaming, "Get out the way!"
She's giving birth.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's maybe going 10% above the speed limit. That would be the same level of visceral thrill.
So I like to leave it to the last minute before I drive to the hospital, just so I can speed legally.
Sure.
So we
again a very obscure British rule: if your wife is in labour, you're legally allowed to go at least 30%.
I once saw a car. When I lived in Morden, which is right near St Helier Hospital. I once saw a car ramp over a speed bump and get all four wheels off the ground.
Incredible.
And then but in the back of the car, I could see a woman like this go, ah! So he was driving to the hospital.
Great.
And I'm like, you go, son.
You get it, yeah. Nice.
I can't remember the train of thought. But yeah, so the
we were
baby
talking
was,
about with the difficult.
So the second baby was much easier. And then the third kid, which you should pop out in an hour, went 2 weeks overdue, had to be induced, was being induced for like 10 hours before she came out, and then was relatively okay when she came out. But so I mean, all three experiences were different.
So how many additional horror stories over and above the experience you had on the first one had you heard by the time you had the second one?
None.
So you hadn't really talked about this with any friends?
No. So I didn't know about proper horror stories until I read Adam Kaye's book.
Okay.
That was when I'm like, wow, I thought we had a bad experience.
Look
Nothing compared to that. This is a book of bad experiences. I mean, so that's a good question. Should you read a book like that if you are expecting? I would say probably not.
Do you think the experience you had on the first one, and this is really the crux of the question, do you think that made you like a better partner, a more supportive partner on the second one, a more valuable partner? Do you think you enjoyed the experience more, knowing the potential scope of what could go wrong?
On the second one, she asked her sister to come in as well. That probably speaks
that
volumes.
Was it. There we go.
So what do we conclude for the top of the week?
I think horror stories are...
What about half horror stories? What about cautious warnings?
Cautious warnings, I think.
Better to have a chat to your partner about, but spare the bone sore parts.
Spare the bone sores. And I think for you as the dad, I think if I got to that situation where on the first I was on the verge of fainting, or I lost my capacity for rational thought, and I was, God forbid, I was actually a hindrance. You know, imagine that. If you were making,
I can absolutely imagine that would be a thing that happened.
Yeah, but like if I made her experience actively worse, or
you'd be standing on a cable, knocked
oh
out
sorry,
a plug.
my iPad was running out of juice. Yeah, like that kind of thing makes me like, oh God, can you imagine? Or like I was having to divert the attention
It
to
does
the
sound
medical
like you're
stuff.
more worried than she is.
I think so.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm most excited about,
Yep.
and I think the thing that I've really been training for a very long time for kids
Yep.
is dad jokes.
It's the saving grace of being a dad.
Right.
So for all of the work and all of like the crap you have to deal with and all of the thankless, endless tasks, being able to make those jokes just to make yourself laugh kind of makes it all worthwhile. More than anything. Like it's my favourite dad thing is to Mickey take and to make jokes that they really don't understand. And to have them, just constantly confused or annoyed by the things that you tell them. And dad lies as well. So, like little lies about, and I'm struggling to think of a great example, but just little lies about little untruths where they go, is that true? Is that a thing? And then they have to think about it, and then, mum will go, he's just ignore him.
But have you left a few so they'll come out in maybe 15 years?
I hope so.
On like a first date where it's like...
like the badgers aren't real.
Yeah.
And a badger is an imaginary animal.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as badgers.
That kind of thing.
I haven't, but this is really something you can work towards.
You've still got time, I suppose.
Yeah, you've still got time. Yeah, I mean, one thing that I really wanted to do and I forgot to do was the whole amulet thing. Is that you get half an amulet and you give it to them and say that their twin brother or sister was separated at birth and they have the other half of the amulet and they have to spend their life looking for their twin brother or sister.
Yeah, that's really healthy.
The other idea is that you get their photo.
Right.
Their baby photo, and you get it aged professionally to see what they'd look like as maybe like an 18-year-old.
Sure.
And then you have it done as a portrait, which you hang on the wall. So as a kid gets older, at a certain point, is going to realise that this weird portrait that's been hanging on this wall its whole life is actually that kid, and it's just growing into the portrait. Every day, I will find a new fun lie that just makes me laugh a little bit that everything's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, and that kind of constant teasing and constant making stuff up and just being annoying. Like, I mean, I really think it's our role in life is to annoy your children. And I think if you do that, even from a serious point of view, I think they'll grow up to have a good sense of humour. I've seen our boy go from being a boy who used to get like embarrassed or insulted when something went wrong or someone took the mickey out of him to actually having a bit of a thick skin and being able to laugh and joke back now. Mm-hmm. And he loves a pun. I've got him on the puns and I've got him on the...
Because what is a dad joke?
A dad joke is just a cringingly, terribly bad joke, isn't it? It's a joke. So this is my favourite joke, and we can do Joel's favourite dad joke of the week.
Joel's dad joke. Can we have that as a segment ongoing?
So this isn't even something that's going to make you laugh, right? You're not going to no. But this makes me laugh every time. So the kids, they can't put their shoes and their coats and things on.
Sure.
They'll go, Dad, can you put my coat on? And you go, don't think it'll fit me.
This is really funny.
Right? And they go, oh no, not you. Oh. Like, you can just see them die a little inside that I made that joke again. And they'll be like, Dad, can you take my shoes off? I'm not wearing them. But every day, right? So it's kind of like that thing where you start off and you go, is that funny? I don't know.
It's the Simpsons rake theory.
Yes, exactly, yeah. By rate
over
32,
20 years.
I'm laughing, yeah. And so that like winds the kids up, but it makes me laugh. And it winds my wife up as well, and she's like, oh, God, don't say
because your wife's
good.
not the biggest pun and dad joke fan.
No, well,
really.
Well,
I am.
Well, no, okay. I mean, if you can marry a woman who likes, puns and dad jokes, then good on you.
Yeah.
But I think it's that one little thing that we have as dads that brightens up our day.
It's an oral tradition, I suppose. It's a folklorist kind of oral
like
tradition.
Native Americans might pass on stories through song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We dad jokes from father to son, and so the chain remains unbroken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's lovely. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Glad I could.
I suppose, and so we're on to our last section now, which is like the next milestone. What is the next milestone?
Yep.
Not every episode it's going to be quite as dramatic as this next milestone, but the next milestone for us is we have an early sex scan,
which is amazing,
in like 2 weeks.
So I mean, obviously, gender reveal is a big thing these days. You've seen gender reveal parties.
I have seen them. The fires are still raging.
Yeah, I mean,
in California.
It started off with a balloon burst. That's the one I saw, where you have like a black balloon and inside it will be either pink confetti or blue confetti, and you pop it. Have you seen the cakes where like you bring out the cake to all your friends and family, and it's got like a boy on it or a girl on it, or it'll be, you know, a lot of them, the American ones are very gender stereotypy.
Okay, this is a chainsaw. This is
a cowboy boots or a hat. Or
right. Lovely.
But it's a big thing, gender reveal, and so I mean, I don't know if you've thought about how you're going to present the news.
Present the news to who?
Society.
I mean, in coronavirus, I guess, because the idea of a gender reveal makes me like shrivel up like a cold swim in a sea, like. Okay. So you don't. Yeah. All right. So it's to other people, it's not really a big thing, right? I think I've been thinking about this a lot. We talked about this a little bit, and I think the thing that I think it's really big is, for me, it will then. It doesn't matter what it is. It's going to flip from this kind of very biological thing. It's an amorphous kind of fetus almost, to like, well, this is a person now, because I can
with forward-facing eyes.
With forward-facing eyes, which is very important for catching any form of rudimentary prey. And then I can, because I've had experiences with men and women.
Yeah, you can imagine it more.
I can imagine it more.
Yeah, you've never had an experience with
an asexual fetus. It's no. It's a good point actually. So this is almost the start of your relationship with the child, and I think that's why.
And picking
it's exciting.
Yeah. So here's
it.
I've never understood people who don't find out the sex of the kid. Right? Why wouldn't you find out? They go, I want it to be a surprise.
It's a surprise. Always a surprise.
But it's a surprise next week when you find out. You can, rule out 50% of your name choices. So if you're really struggling with picking a name, you can say, well, instead of picking 20 girls' names and 20 boys' names, we only need 20 girls' names because we know it's a girl.
So starting the relationship for me with that fetus is being like, that's a person now.
Yeah.
And B, the name choices. Because we've got 15 girls, 15 boy names approximately, and it's impossible to try and narrow it down.
Yeah, well, I think we had like 3 girls' names and 50 boys' names.
Right. Okay.
So it was like, well, if we could narrow it down, some, then it'd be easy.
Yeah, and we're going to do names in another.
We'll
episode. We'll do name, talk about that and how you go about names.
So back to gender reveal. You're not going to do a gender reveal, but this channel and this episode can be the gender reveal. So let's do it. So I don't know. So don't tell me.
I won't tell you
beforehand.
beforehand.
You can tell me as we sit here.
Amazing.
And you can think of a funny way of doing it.
Do I have to think of a funny way of doing it? We'll set the gazebo on fire. Yeah, that feels very in keeping.
And it'll burn blue or burn pink.
Yeah. I like the idea of like telling you on here though.
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do a funny way of doing it.
You're not going to like bring out a cake.
No, I mean I can
pop a balloon.
Give you a cake.
Pop a balloon.
But yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to talk about that. We'll hopefully
take off your shirt and it's written on your stomach. It's a boy.
Yeah, I mean this is not obviously an adults only channel, so. We don't want to get blacklisted, but that's a huge milestone.
Yeah, it is. So
I was trying to think about why it was a huge milestone, and I think I've identified why that is. And then obviously I want to talk about names on the next episode.
Great, brilliant stuff. Yeah, I love talking about names. It's a big thing of mine.
Because you've also got a difficult surname, I think, for names.
Yeah,
and I've got a difficult surname, so we'll talk about that.
Mine
what that means.
We couldn't have anything that was a vowel.
Yeah, I think we're the opposite.
Could only have vowels. Yeah.
But that's it for this week, this episode. So
that was quick.
It's gone very, very quickly. Again, hope you've enjoyed. Thanks for watching Pro Dad Noob Dad.
Thank you very much.
I'm the Noob Dad, Chris.
I'm the Pro Dad, Joel.
And
we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
See you next week.
Cheers.
For all your best dating advice, join us now. It's Pro Dad, Noob Dad. It's Pro Dad, Noob Dad. Adults may vary, and your parenting skills may go down as well as up. Seek professional advice.